My name is Carrie Stewart. I am registered dietitian with Spartanburg Regional in our Heart Resource Center, where my main goal is cardiovascular disease prevention for our service areas. We welcome you to the Teaching Kitchen here at Gibbs Cancer Center in Greer, South Carolina. And I have a special guest with me today. So she is really my partner in crime in the cardiovascular world. And I will let Alexandra introduce herself to you first. So
Thank you, Carrie. I am Alexandra Lautenschlager. I'm a registered dietitian as well. I work at the Heart Wellness Center as the cardiopulmonary rehab dietitian. Also been known to put on some costumes for the patients because that's just how I roll. But yes, I'm excited to be here. I just picked this recipe for several reasons because it crosses over to different populations that may be more plant-based, that have heart disease, as Carrie said, but also I come from a background of chronic kidney disease, dialysis, and so it also helps with them and all our friends who have diabetes. So I think it just kind of crosses hopes to catch everyone else. And this is a recipe that I never tried until this weekend. So it's new to both of us.
yeah.
And so first of all, it came from the Kidney Nutrition Institute, which I believe was put in the link if you did not get the recipe. It is free and available for you to get. But yeah, I think we should go ahead and get started.
Okay. I'm really excited to try this. It has a lot of flavors and textures and tastes that I have never put together before. So why don't you go ahead and share with everyone what's in it, and I'll zoom in so that they can get a closer look.
Okay, great. So the first thing is 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And just a little note here, there's different types of olive oil, and a lot of people go towards the extra virgin, which is the first press out of the olive, and it's perfect for salad dressings, but it's not as great for cooking because it's so fragile. So what you want to do is use regular olive oil for cooking, but regular olive oil can be used for both. So very versatile in that. Fresh lime juice, which we have our lime here. And then we have adobo sauce from a can of Chipotle. And if you can see, these are actually chilies. Oh, I gotta go forward,
There you
short
go.
girl.
Perfect.
These are actually chilies soaked in the adobo sauce, and it gives it a smoky flavor, is what I think of it. So it kind of makes it robust, which I find fitting for the black beans.
Yeah. Is it spicy?
I think it is, but I think the paprika that's also in it, the smoked paprika, which is right here. I think it is a little more, gives it a kick to it. So think of smoky and a kick coming together.
Okay.
So,
And you're just using the sauce, is that right? You're not
yeah,
actually
nope.
using the dried chili that's in there
No.
itself.
No,
Okay.
you just scoop out the sauce, and it actually
Okay.
came in a can. I just put it in Tupperware.
Okay.
So, use it more than once.
Yeah.
And then, of course, maple syrup, which also sticks it all together, which I find great. So you do, again, have the smokiness of the adobo, the kick from the paprika, the olive oil, which also can give it a flavor. And if you use a different type of induced flavored olive oil, that works as well. So that's going to be your vinaigrette. Oh, yes, and not only just the lime juice, but also lime zest. For the bean salad itself, it asks for 5 ounces of black beans, which is about this much. Black beans are high in protein, but not too high. High in fiber, and fiber is very important, especially with heart disease and diabetes, because with heart disease, it helps lower the LDL, and with diabetes, it sustains the blood sugars more consistently. So I think you get a 2-win for that one.
Yeah.
And a red bell pepper. And I just want to give a shout out to Jackson Farms, who I got this wonderful red pepper from at the Hub Cities Farmers Market, which is open Saturdays 8 to 12, almost all year round. So I
You
think
frequent there, don't you?
probably it's my social scene with all the vendors and, just support local. I mean, that's what we have to do in today's age to make things thrive.
That's how I know you're my people, because that's probably one of my favorite things to do is just get a hot coffee. I don't even need anything at the farmer's market, and I still go just to wander around.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with that. And it doesn't have to be Hub City. If you have a farmer's market located wherever you are,
Yeah.
support them because they need our support. They do so much hard work. And I think when you get their products, you just taste how much
Yeah.
work and effort they put into it.
Anyone that's tried to garden anything knows that.
And
I wouldn't say I have a brown thumb, but it's not exactly green either.
Yeah,
I'll take, we'll buy them
We'll
and
buy-
then we'll make something great with it.
Exactly. So, a stalk of celery, which we had a discussion of what a stalk is.
We did. So if anyone wants to weigh in on this debate, please feel free to type in the chat there. Also, we'd love to hear your questions. But we were under the impression that a stalk of celery is this, and that a head of celery is the entire thing.
Yeah.
However,
labels.
Alexandra's bag here says equivalent to 2 stalks of celery. And then they call these a stick. So that led to a nice long conversation, but we're on the same page. So let us know where you're at.
Yeah, let us know what you think, or, if you use more, let us know how it tastes. So, but we're using this one stalk, a red onion, which that one I did get at Publix, so just disclaimer on that too. And then cilantro, which I actually found at Aldi.
Yeah.
So actually the maple syrup and the canna beans, which were the organic, but for those of you that may not know me well enough, I'm also a big proponent of, saving bucks. So Aldi, Lidl, or Lidl, as some people say, has great produce for a much cheaper price than some of the counterparts.
Yeah.
And one tip that Carrie gave me most recently, actually it was on one of your Veg Edge from a few months ago, is taking what's left over, putting it in some water, and then it holds a lot longer in the refrigerator. So yeah.
I feel like now's an appropriate time to show everyone that we actually had this left over for Alexandra. I didn't know she was going to go buy her own, but she wanted to try it. So she has her cilantro there, but this is 2-week-old cilantro at this point, actually.
Wow.
So there's a little bit of yellowing that's getting here, but otherwise, all we got to do is give it that pinch and smell test, and it's still got it. So if you can smell it, then you're going to be able to taste it, and that means the nutrition has been preserved too, because the smell is actually linked to that as well. So the oils in it.
So speaking of anti-inflammatory, which is the cilantro, what else do we have here? Peppers.
Peppers, absolutely. The beautiful red bell pepper. The onions, I mean, we're going to have lots of different colors, which always excites me as well. The celery, I feel like the contrast between the red pepper, the purple onion, the green celery, and cilantro, the black beans, that's all going to look really lovely together. We can eat with our eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. And that's the other thing. The two of us, we love food.
We do.
Not only do we love to cook food, we love food. So we're always trying something new. So probably another question is, why plant-based? And so over the years that I've been, here and working with Carrie, she was my partner on the outside before I got here, but especially with kidney disease, plant-based, and people are moving in that direction. Of course, people are like, oh, it's so much more expensive, but this meal, if I added up maybe all the bits and portions, what, $5 maybe?
Yeah, probably.
If even that. And it holds over
Yeah.
and we'll talk about what else you can add to it to make it a meal, or if you just want it as a salad. But plant-based usually helps prevent or slow down the progression of the disease. So in kidney disease, it slows it down. So if you're in stages 3, A and B, stage 4, and stage 5 prior to dialysis, you can improve the GFR, the glomerular filtration rate, can go back up. That has been shown. So it slows down the disease process. And then for heart disease,
yeah,
all the anti-inflammatory.
Yeah,
So,
the fiber that's within it is going to bind to that LDL cholesterol. Do you feel like you're seeing it now in your new role in cardiac rehab? Are you seeing more kidney disease? Are you surprised at the amount of patients that also have heart and kidney issues together?
well,
Or
I think yes and no. Um, because first of all, our heart, what was it called? Our heart is the motor.
yeah,
The motor of the body. And so it has to pump the blood all the way to every extremity, every organ. And the kidneys are one of those organs. So if you have heart disease, the blood's not getting to the kidneys, so you can risk getting kidney disease. But if you have kidney disease, you risk getting heart disease because the heart has to pump harder for the kidneys to work and excrete everything out. So it is kind of a feedback mechanism one way or the other.
Yeah. I mean, we call it the cardiovascular system for a reason. The heart gets all the attention, it seems like. But remember, we have arteries and veins that run from the top of our head to the bottom of our feet. And so, like Alexandra said, part of it is the kidneys. And one of the things that we don't talk about very much, I feel like, at least in the cardiovascular world enough, is that your kidneys have hormones that they release to help regulate blood pressure. So again, those channels are going back and forth. I mean, not only are they literally connected, but your kidneys can be regulating blood pressure, and we only tend to think of blood pressure as a heart thing sometimes.
Right. So if you're put on certain blood pressure medications, doctors are going to watch your creatinine levels over time, and just to make sure the kidneys are still working, because changes in blood pressure can affect the kidneys as well.
Yeah.
And the number one reason for chronic kidney disease is hypertension.
Okay. So there you have it.
And diabetes is second. So, and diabetes also can cause kidney disease if uncontrolled. So, the reason for a lot of new look at plant protein, even though some of the beans, some of the potassium from beans, it's actually not as absorbed by the kidneys as, let's say, the animal protein and things like that. Well, not the potassium, but the plant-based protein is not as absorbed as the animal protein for kidneys. So it's actually very safe. And I think that's a huge benefit. Another thing that patients who have chronic kidney disease or who are on dialysis, they have to watch their phosphorus, and they take a phosphorus binder. It's a medication that they take with their meals. It's a huge pill, and it is a cost burden, which we try to prevent as long as we can. But the phosphorus in the plants is also absorbed at a much significant less amount than the phosphorus in your animal byproducts.
So we can't just look at the nutrition facts label where it says that this food has 200 milligrams of phosphorus.
Right.
So we have to think, okay, it's actually what my body's actually absorbing and doing with that might be 40% of that.
Right.
So,
but
that's confusing, I know, but at least now we know there is that difference in the animal products and the plant products. So we can go.
And one more thing I wanted to point out, like I said, this is not an expensive meal, and I know food costs are going up, especially with certain meats.
Yeah.
So it's another way to, save a bit of money. But also the other reason we are talking about vegetables, most people don't really know how to pair them with different spices and herbs. And I try to give my patients a pairing chart, but I don't even know it a lot of times.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. So this is an adventure for all of us, and let's just get started.
Yes, I'm really excited because, I mean, you buy that can of Chipotle chilies and adobo sauce and you use, I don't know, a teaspoon of it or something like that. So having something else to do with it is exciting. I can't wait to try this.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
I'm going to go check and see if there's any questions right now.
And I'm going to wash my hands first and foremost. And if you caught us earlier before we got cut off, I was telling Carrie, you want to wash your hands anywhere between 10 and 15 seconds, which is the alphabet and the happy birthday song. And there's other songs that you can do. But just remember, it's important to have hand hygiene before you start cooking, and also make sure there is no cross-contamination. So we'll start with the vinaigrette. So we have 2 tablespoons right here, which I've already measured out, or actually Carrie measured those out. I can't say I did it. I'm not sure why I'm being so dramatic when I pour this in here, but
makes for good TV. Yeah.
Okay, so I did the olive oil, and then it says 2 tablespoons of lime juice. So Carrie taught me this, but roll it under your hand and remind us again why we do this, Carrie.
Yeah. So, sometimes you really need that fresh juice or it tastes better, but you aren't able to, or all of them are just so hard. Even if you buy the hardest lime or lemon, if you roll into it, you give it a little bit of that body weight, it starts to separate the pulp from the actual peel, and you'll be able to squeeze all the juice out that you could possibly need, sometimes even a little bit more. And one of the things we discussed is, are we going to use a juicer or are we just going to do it by hand? And Alexandra said, oh, let's just do it by hand. So
maybe that's what I did wrong Sunday. I didn't put my body weight into it.
There we go.
Okay. So what I did, Carrie, I actually cut it in half and squeezed it. So all right, let's see. What did I say? 2 tablespoons? Let's see if I can do this.
Okay, so you're going to get extra fancy with us. I'll probably just throw the half of the lime in there and call it good. Or do you need the whole lime? I guess we'll find out, huh? That's why you're doing it.
Look at that. Look, it almost filled it up completely. 1.
Yeah, I feel like you just get so much more, especially with a lime where you're not worried about the seeds falling in. Sometimes with a lemon, but honestly, sometimes when you roll out a lemon, you're actually able to pick the seeds out a lot easier when you do cut it.
2.
All right.
You know what? We'll just do a little bit.
Oh, okay. Get a little extra for
good measure.
There we go.
All right, so now I need the zester. I'm going to do the zester first before I do the adobo sauce. Okay. I'm just going to.
This is my favorite tool.
Why do I? Yeah, there we go. Sorry, dramatic. I'm dramatic over here. I think it's working.
Yeah, it'll catch it in the. Let's see.
Ah.
Yeah, it catches it. I know.
Oh.
So that way you don't even have to do it over the bowl like that. You should.
And just knock it in.
I can smell it. Oh my gosh, that smells so good.
And how do I get it in there?
Take your finger.
Oh, see.
Right here. Do you want me to? How much do you need? I can keep doing that for you. Oh, that's it. Okay.
That's it.
All right. Great.
Find out.
So the anti-inflammatory compounds, the really strong ones of our citrus, are actually found in the peel as well, the zest. So the zest is a very fancy way of saying the peel. But when you see lemon essential oil, orange essential oil, what they're doing is they're actually just taking the peels and they are distilling the oil out of the peels. So if we don't eat the peel, then we aren't getting those oils that have such health benefits to them. But instead of, adding lemon or lime essential oil to your food in these really high concentrations, this is just a nice natural lower form of that. But it'll give you, I feel like the zest adds just a pop of flavor that you don't quite get if you add just the juice by itself. So there aren't many fancy kitchen tools that we would recommend that kind of go above and beyond, but a microplane is a zester of some sort is a really nice tool to have.
It is, because my zester is tiny. So
yeah.
So then you get
okay.
the adobo. So I'm
gonna
squish it.
And how much of that are we using?
Half a tablespoon.
Okay. So just all right. And this isn't much. I mean, 5 ounces of beans, which we had to definitely look at the can. So it's a great recipe just for one person, or if it's not something that other people in your family would eat, these ratios are really great. The 1 stalk of celery, which, by the way, we got some feedback from someone that they agree that 1 stalk of celery
is that. Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So here's the maple syrup. Just gonna let it drip. Well, I can tell you that.
Do you want a spoon?
Oh, yeah.
Or your spatula.
I can tell you that when I made this on Sunday, that I was able to split it with somebody. So.
Oh, good. Okay. So it was enough for, what would you say, a meal or a side for 2?
A side for 2.
Okay.
And then the smoked paprika.
Did you know paprika is just dehydrated red bell pepper?
I did know that. Do you know why I know that?
How?
Because in German, paprika is pepper.
Ah, so that's probably why we call it that to begin with.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So smoking it, I'm guessing they just dehydrate it with smoke, right?
Yeah.
And then they grind it up. If you've never tasted the difference between smoked paprika and regular paprika, there's very much a flavor difference. Sometimes I feel like regular paprika is just a little too mild and a little too bland for me, and that then makes sense because it's just a bell pepper. But the smoky taste, I mean, obviously, if you don't like smoky flavored things, you may not like the smoked paprika, but some other things I love using it on are sweet potatoes, roasted sweet potatoes.
Oh.
So it gives them that kind of nice sweet. You've got the sweet from the potato, but then the smoky flavor going on there. That's one of my favorite things to do with it. This smells great. Oh my gosh. Oh, I can really smell the lime. The lime is balancing the smoky flavor very well.
Well, I'm glad you said that about the sweet potatoes, because I am not a sweet potato fan. Okay, so another disclaimer, I'm not a true Southerner. I am German. So sweet potatoes is something I'm still trying to.
Okay, I didn't really think about the fact they may not really have sweet potatoes in Germany. All right, so now I'm going to zoom in again. So you're just dicing up our celery?
Our 1 celery stalk.
Okay.
And I know one of the tips you give, especially with such knives, is to hold your hand like this and hold it and make sure you're ahead of the knife. And for somebody like me who has small hands, just be extra careful not to get too far ahead of yourself. So
yeah, that's good for anybody, even the most trained culinary chef in the world. Can't get ahead of yourself. That's when accidents happen.
Now with the onion, I am not a trained chef, so I cut it and then I go a little crazy with the knife and just pray that everything stays on the cutting board, because I've been taught actually how to cut, but I can't do it.
It takes practice. It really does.
So
to do it the trained chef way, I feel like. But in my book, any way that you find easiest that is safe.
Yes. So
that is
kind of what I end up doing
to do it.
Just have a little fun, pretend I'm on a chop show or, going to town. It doesn't look pretty, but no one's judging your food anyway on looks. Because guess what? It's just going in the belly, right? Any questions, Carrie?
No, but we just got a great comment that someone else did not know paprika was from a red bell pepper. And that was their favorite seasoning. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Wow.
Because yeah, I feel like paprika has kind of especially the smoked paprika. I don't know what's I feel like smoked paprika is kind of making waves right now, or it's becoming a more popular seasoning. So another one that just came in is the best way to sharpen knives, and that is professionally. So
I like
that's
that.
a very good question. So actually what I would do is recommend that you watch our Veg Edge video from, let me think, May, perhaps. It was when I had Mark Pierce, who is our executive food service director, in the kitchen. And we talked about knife sharpening, actually. So Mark brought 3 or 4 different types of sharpeners, and they're not that expensive. I mean, by that, they're 200 to, you can get some really fancy, expensive ones. Actually, I learned that in our hospital, what they do, because they're using so much of the knives all day, they actually have a service that comes and sharpens them for them.
Right.
And that way it's one more thing that they don't have to worry about. And then they bring all the knives back to the hospital because they have to keep them sharp, since a sharp knife, if you know how to use it correctly, is actually safer than a dull knife.
Yes.
And so it's a really important thing to maintain your knives that way. What I also learned is, as long as they're steel like this, you can basically just keep sharpening them and for the rest of your life. So if you have this big old knife set and you don't think that they're sharp enough, I feel like our first instinct is just to go either donate them to Goodwill or, get rid of them. But just get them sharpened, pay a little bit of money to get them sharpened, and they'll be good as new. So what I have not done is looked up local resources for knife sharpening in our area here. So I don't have any recommendations on that necessarily. But I would bet that some of the culinary stores, it might be something that they offer, or it might be something, there may even be, I feel like so many people are becoming mobile with their little vans for services. So there may be somebody that can come to your home and do it. Or you could go on Amazon and buy that, $200 or $300 knife sharpener.
Okay, I'm going to let you cut the rest of this pepper because
okay, yeah,
I'm having an issue.
yeah, definitely. Is that trash?
Yes.
Okay, great. Perfect. All right, I can do that for you. Let me wash my hands. Safety first.
No, what I'm going to do is take the beans and put them in a separate bowl. I don't know why I did mine separately, because it says to add it to the dressing, but I did it in reverse, and I liked it. Oh, and the cilantro. We can't forget the cilantro.
Okay, I may. So one of the things that I might do actually is just go ahead and
pour that in.
And pour this in right now, since a crowded workspace can sometimes be more dangerous too. So I'm just going to, which bowl? With the beans?
With the beans.
All right. I'm going to take this, and I actually flipped my knife over so that I'm not dragging the sharp part across the cutting board, because that dulls your knife quicker. So our first instinct is always to do this.
Oh.
Yeah, and then the sharp part goes toward your hand too. This way, the sharp part can be facing away from us, and we're not dulling our knife as quickly. So
and it's safer.
Yeah.
See, I learned something new myself.
That is one thing. It took me a little while to get the hang of it, though. Like I might have learned that from actually an American Heart Association chef, I think. All right, so I'm going to cut the whole thing into, I'm just dicing it up.
You're just dicing it up.
Yeah. I can do that. Another fun thing about the bell peppers too is that what gives them each their different colors are actually different nutrients. So if you're eating the red one, you're going to get red pigments that are anti-inflammatory. And what is making them red is actually different nutrients. So even in a salad like this, where we've got the purple onion. If you use the white onion, that would give you different nutrients too, which is kind of neat. So if you're eating the rainbow, you're getting all of them.
Yes.
And I feel like we're doing a pretty good job of eating the rainbow. I see the cilantro sitting here as well. So that is, yes, I love cilantro. I'm assuming you like cilantro because A, you chose this recipe, and B, I don't know.
Well, I was inspired.
Or maybe you don't, and I'm going to learn that right now.
No, we actually I had pho soup, I think 2 weeks before, and I've forgotten the aroma of cilantro.
I know.
And so actually I didn't pay attention what was in it. I just went bean salad because it sounds refreshing and it's so easy.
Yeah.
So it was a pleasant surprise. How about that? So
kind of got you back on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's one of the things, during COVID, a lot of people did start cooking more.
Yeah.
I unfortunately was not one of those. I think I was tired, I was working on the front lines. So, it took me a while to get back into it, but recently I showed Carrie my very first cookbook that came out like 28 years ago, 1998 or something, a Reader's Digest, Heart Healthy. And it is just a great first cookbook because it has pictures for all your steps, and it explains all the herbs, explains the different pastas, the different vegetables. And so when I whipped it out this weekend when we had our meeting, but I whipped it out also for this weekend to make a dish, and I just had so much fun with it. So I'm
assuming I'm just roughly chopping this.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is one thing that I've learned about cilantro is that you don't want to mince it up a ton because the bigger pieces kind of keep the flavor, especially if you let this sit and you're not going to eat it immediately. Cilantro is one of the highest green leafies in something called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a vessel opener. It's a dilator. So we at our disposal have natural forms of nitric oxide that we can be eating. And if your blood vessels are open, then they're relaxed more. Your pressure goes down. Nitric oxide is also known to help lower LDL cholesterol as well. So we think of leafy greens. I say it that way because we think of leafy greens as salad greens, things that we would eat a whole big bowl of. I personally could eat that whole thing of cilantro because I love it. However, I know that's a very divided. Those are divided opinions as well. But we don't think of eating cilantro, or basil is the other one. Those two are the highest in nitric oxide. So what also is on the top of that list is arugula, actually. So arugula, spinach, Swiss chard, kale, some of those are great as well. However, cilantro is like number 2. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so get it in, and if you like it, add more because all it's going to do is help your heart.
Awesome. So I'm going to stir this first.
Okay, I'm going to move Are we done with this? Or
I think so, yeah.
Okay, because I was going to say then I can zoom in for everybody to see how pretty it is.
I lost one.
That's okay. We cleaned. We can eat it. All right.
So yeah, I'm just
look how pretty.
Kind of stirring this up so the flavors can all get together. So you don't have like one side onions, one side pepper, one side celery. Plus I can separate everything. There's no rhyme or reason of how I do this. I just hope my mother taught me well. I'm going to put it in this pretty bowl right here. And I think, well, recently we talked about what is our favorite kitchen gadget. And I'd like to hear from the participants what theirs is. And we had quite a few great answers. But one person mentioned the spatula.
Yeah.
I'm going to mix this one more time, this vinegar, and I'm going to scoop it out and pour it over. Nothing can be left in this bowl. That's why I like the spatula. Okay. And now I'm just going to, turn it in the bowl. Turn the bowl, turn the spatula.
It's so pretty.
It is pretty.
Did you have any leftovers? So did you try it again the next day, or?
I did try it again the next day. Now, one of the things I was talking about to my taste testers, I like to call the person. So if you have chronic kidney disease and are watching your potassium, some substitutions would be garbanzo beans or chickpeas. And if you don't know what chickpeas are, you might be familiar with hummus, which is mushed up chickpeas, correct?
You know what I thought we should have done was use kidney beans. That would have just brought all this together.
You're right. Oops.
What were we thinking?
I don't know.
What kind of dietitians
are we? I know if we didn't do kidney beans. So hopefully your where you are, it's not as messy, but there is your end result. So.
All right. I'm ready to taste it.
You ready to taste it?
Yes, I am. Now we did not add any salt, but I'm guessing does this have salt, the chipotles and adobo?
Yes.
Or at least a little bit? Okay, I'm going to make sure that.
Now it should marinate for 30 minutes, but I tried it.
Oh my gosh. I love it.
How do you describe it?
You're right. It's very savory. The chipotles and adobo sauce is just enough of, I can see myself eating this as a full meal, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Right. Sometimes I feel like some of these bean salads, it's like, I need a little extra something, but it's almost that umami flavor that sometimes we talk about that is the savory. Those are your savory taste buds, otherwise known as umami. So I think that's what I'm getting from it. That makes me feel like this is very satisfying.
Now, if you are not watching your potassium, you can also add corn.
That sounds delicious.
And then avocado, which we had the conversation about avocado. She likes it mashed with in between things or guacamole, but I can easily see someone adding slices of avocado. And if you have any dressing left over, drizzle it on top of that.
I was just thinking, I can see that dressing tasting really good with avocado.
Yeah. And avocado is a healthy fat, full of fiber.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And this is what I tell my patients, and I also have learned this in my age range of perimenopause. The 4 things you need is carbohydrates, protein, fats, and fiber.
Okay.
That's how I view it. And to me, if you can include that into every meal, and you'd be surprised, like at breakfast, they're like, well, what do I add? If you eat oatmeal, add berries, add chia seeds.
Yeah.
I eat oatmeal with milk. That gives you your protein.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Avocado toast.
Yeah.
And do the everything seasoning, everything bagel seasoning.
Yeah.
And then in the evenings, just make it colorful. I think what also I like, if you don't want to eat it as a whole meal, I can think that you put it over a bed of rice.
Yeah, exactly. There's all sorts of stuff you could pair with it. I like it because it's cold though, and depending on where you're viewing this from, it is very hot here right now. So this is a nice, cool, good picnicky type salad.
Yes.
As well.
And I think I'm on I have a little bit left, so it lasted me 3 days, and that's usually
Okay.
what it does. And what else I like about this, because people, when they think about meal prepping, I was one of these.
Yeah.
It's very inundating. What are you going to meal prep for the week? And some of us, like me, I can only handle so many leftovers, and then I
Yeah.
get that. I love this phrase, taste fatigue.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
And
like that.
it's kind of like one more.
Yeah.
Or yesterday, a coworker said, I'm saladed out. And I'm like, so this is a
Yeah.
salad, but it doesn't have to be the main salad. It can be the main salad. It can be a side salad.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a snack.
Mm-hmm.
You can make it whatever you want. And that's what I like about the Veg Edge, because we finally can highlight the versatility of
Yeah.
fruits and vegetable. It doesn't have to be as boring as I can only eat it with ranch dressing,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I am not a ranch fan. I know. Don't kill me. I'm not
Is
a
that
ranch.
not a German thing either? Ranch?
We're very basic,
Okay.
but I love blue cheese.
Okay.
But I am from Clemson. I mean, I graduated from Clemson too. So, if you don't like blue cheese and you're from Clemson, oh gosh. But no, for me, this is something maybe more robust than what I'm used to. But Germans always have a side salad.
Yeah.
It's not a main meal, and so I kind of go back to that. And if you want to add an animal protein to this, I think if you're grilling, like summertime now, grilling, rubs, whatever, I can even see fish going with this.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I was just thinking as you were talking that grilled corn. So then we're getting that char on the corn first before we
Yep.
add it to it would be really good as well. And one of the things that I actually was reading about before we decided to do this on kidney disease and cardiovascular disease together because they are so connected. One of the things that I found interesting, and not to go back to the protein thing again, but is just that a lot of people are eating the animal proteins in portion sizes that are giving them half a day's worth of protein needs in a meal.
Right.
And so it's not necessarily the beans and the nuts and the seeds that have phosphorus, protein, and potassium in them that we need to worry about as much. But I feel like that's the common theme, like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't eat those beans because they have potassium. When in reality, that chicken, that glass of milk, from the dairy milk, may have had way more protein and potassium and phosphorus in it than some of these plant foods that seem to kind of, it's easy to throw them away and say, oh, I can't eat that because it's too high in this. But we're choosing these foods that are much higher in animal protein, which, as Alexandra talked about earlier, has the nitrogen that that makes it hard on the kidneys to get filtered out. So,
and also and you bring up another point with that. When you have kidney disease, especially when you get into dialysis, food will taste different. The same with our patients who have bypass surgery, even stent, valve replacement. When you're post-surgery, most people do not want to eat a lot of food.
Yeah.
And kind of like, oh, I don't know. So this would be a great way to start. To add some protein back, because they have higher protein needs.
Yeah.
To heal. You're losing it when you're, you're getting stuck all the time with your labs, especially in dialysis. So, these are types of foods that are a bit lighter, but pack a good punch.
Yeah, lots of vitamin C as well for wound healing purposes. Bell peppers have more vitamin C than oranges. So and especially because Alexandra got that one fresh from the farmer's market. It was picked right there. It's going to have a ton of vitamin C in it. So there is some interesting research about decreasing the amount of protein that someone eats throughout a day. And that was one of the things that I read, was that even just going from 70 grams of protein down to 60 grams of protein cut the risk of the end stage renal disease progression by more than 50%. Just 10 grams of protein difference made more than a 50% prevention, essentially, in continuing that pathway to unfortunately, dialysis, which is what happens when the kidneys don't work anymore. So
Right.
let's let food do some of that work for us since we have to eat multiple times a day anyway.
Absolutely. And one last thing for our patients who have diabetes,
Mm.
fiber is extremely important. Not only does it stabilize the blood sugar, but there's two types of fibers.
Yes.
So the celery is the insoluble fiber. And if you think about it, if you put celery or broccoli in a small cup of water, nothing happens.
Oh,
But
yep.
it's good. It's good for digestion, right? So, but the beans and oatmeal, rice, bulgur, barley, it swells.
I never thought about that
That's
way.
your soluble fiber. So when it swells, it pulls the LDL, the sugar that you don't need, right out.
I love it. So
I like noise effects too.
yeah, that's going to sound great. I have to quote our friend Erica Moore, who is a diabetes educator and also a dietitian in our system as well with diabetes education. She calls it your BFF, your best friend, fiber.
Oh, I like that.
I know. I thought you'd like that one.
I think we're starting to sound like the SNL skit. The cooking show.
Yes, we are. We're doing a great job.
That SNL, yeah. I like that BFF.
Any questions?
Yeah.
For anyone, I'll come back there and check before we close. Thank you so much for coming, being willing to jump in, finding this really great recipe that we are going to enjoy now.
Yes.
Because it is most definitely lunchtime. If you give it a try, please let us know what you thought. And as always, anything that you'd like to see us talk about. And next month, before I forget, Dr. Cindy Watson is a physical therapist, and we're going to talk plant-based bone health and do a recipe with collard greens and add a bunch of calcium-containing foods to that. So feel free to tune in, and just note that we have changed the date and the time to accommodate her schedule. So I believe it's Friday, August 18th is when the next Veg Edge will be. So hopefully you can join us for that. Registration is available online. And I'm still waiting on a date, but we've got another guest chef for Hispanic Heritage Month between September and October. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm still waiting on a date for that, but that is upcoming after Bone Health. So I'm going to check back if there's anything else anyone would like to share. Or any last
I would
thoughts you
also
have?
like to encourage people, if they really like this recipe, what else did you add to it to make it fun? Things like this, you can't go wrong. Baking is a little different than this, so that's where you have to be careful. But this, make it your own. That's how I feel about it. Did we get any questions?
We have, yes. Can you explain insoluble fiber again?
Okay, so insoluble fiber is fiber that doesn't change when you add liquid to it. So I think I used putting celery or broccoli or cauliflower, your cruciferous vegetables, putting those in water and nothing really happens. But if you add liquids to beans and oatmeal, barley, and trying to think of something else. What happens? It swells.
Our chia seed, the ground flaxseed.
The ground flaxseed.
Yeah.
So it swells up, and what happens is fiber is great in picking up things that you do not break down. So that can be some of the sugar, that can be the LDL that you need to get rid of. And as we know, fiber is great for digestion, so it takes it out of your system. So you have insoluble, which doesn't do anything except, I don't want to say it doesn't do anything, but it helps with digestion. And of course, the antioxidants from the vegetables. And insoluble is what takes all the greasy grease, gooey stuff out of your system.
Yes. So I think you kind of explained this, but a follow-up question to that was, what is the best fiber to eat? And I think when we look at what folks are eating, it seems like they are not getting enough soluble fiber.
No, they're not.
So that all those foods Alexandra was just talking about would be some of the ones that we want to focus on.
And other things like your whole grains, I think that's a word that we don't often use enough, because unfortunately we have vilified carbohydrates, and whole grains are carbohydrates. So for your whole grains, that would be, your whole wheat products, Breads, I always say the heartier the bread, the better it is for you. You can find it at Aldi, you can find it at Lidl, however you want to say it, Publix, but things like that. Barley, quinoa, which I know a lot of people have heard, but they're like, I've never tried it. And I've actually encouraged patients to use low sodium beef stock. It can be chicken stock, veggie stock for the quinoa to give it a little bit of flavor.
Yeah, I agree. I cook mine with vegetable stock as well.
Vegetable stock.
So even diluted.
Yeah.
Even just a cup, 1 cup of quinoa needs 2 cup of liquid. So 1 cup water, 1 cup broth.
Right.
Yeah.
So that also has a lot of protein and fiber. And let's not forget the sweet potato. Yeah, I'm not a fan, but hopefully I'll get there at some point.
Yeah. All right. Well, our friends Sharon and John have been mixing along and agree it's very tasty. So thank you for cooking with us. And then I did just want to share with you some of the gadgets that were put in.
Oh, yes.
Were mini chopper, which that's what I said that I love, my little mini chopper.
Yep.
Vitamix, which, yes, you can go big and go home with that Vitamix. And then someone else said they're Keurig. So got to have coffee. Absolutely. All right. Well, we have managed to just go 3 minutes over despite our delay. So we thank you all for finding us again and joining with us. I'm really sorry about that.
Yes.
We have no idea how that happened, but just remember that eating plants is good for you and all your body systems are connected. So what's good for one is going to be good for another.
Absolutely.
Any last words for our friends?
No, enjoy the food. That's what I'm here to tell you. Enjoy the food.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a time and place for everything.
Yep.
So enjoy it.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.